The most exciting phrase to hear in science, the one that heralds the most discoveries, is not Eureka. I found it. But, that's funny. Isaac Asimov. The city around me expanded past the horizon, almost as if it curved to the sky, up into the sky. The sidewalks were empty as the ponies walked the streets. Inside the buildings, the ponies ate dinner, upside down, and on the ceiling. They were also all on fire, looking at me, smiling. Such silly dreams. I told you before to keep the medicine locked up. If any of you ponies develop an addiction, this will be the first place that they go to steal it. I didn't recognize this voice. It sounded male. The accent was familiar, but uncommon.
But if there's an emergency, unless you give me the key, it's going to be hard to help anyone when you're off sleeping.
That was the high-pitched voice of the red flag nurse. Now, what was her name? Pop Candy, I think? My eyes opened up, this time having no trouble at all, and my body no longer had the same aches as before. Slowly looking around, I could see Candy Pop, that's her name, holding a first aid box in her magic. Looking around a bit more, I could see an old zebra, which explained the accent, who was also in a white lab coat. The zebra's stripes looked a little gray in some spots, and his mane and tail were cut short, overall looking nothing like the zebras in the posters back in Applewood. This was, of course, when my stomach growled stupidly loud, drawing the attention of the other two in the room. Ah, good. Looks like you're finally awake. The doctor trotted up to me as I sat up. And you look much better than when I last saw you. He had a cheery tone in his voice. It reminded me of every doctor, dentist, and other pony whose job it was to check my health. I am Dr. Lifebeat, and you have already met my assistant, Candy Pop. Candy gave me a wink. I apologize if she did anything unbecoming. She stuck her tongue out at the doctor. This time I carefully got myself out of bed, no need to fall on my face a second time, and asked, how long was I out? A little over 2 hours. It was still the same day. The boost Candy Pop gave you has a nasty crash. It is why I don't give her a key to the medicine safes. He looked back and she looked away, acting innocent. Looking down at my pip-buck, the screen was dark, which was good as the pip-buck could kill me if I messed with it accidentally. I sighed and looked back up at the old zebra. Dr. Lifebeat, was it? I guess I should go back to the pip-buck lab. Can one of you show me where to go? Lifebeat raised an eyebrow at me before shaking his head with a sigh. No. If you go there now, you will only pass out again. June told me that the pip-buck is safe as long as you don't go playing with it. No, you need to do something first, before getting that thing fixed. He tapped one of his back hooves twice on the floor, calling Candy Pop over. You need to eat and drink before you do anything. My assistant will take you to the cafeteria to get your energy back up. I don't want to see you on one of these beds anytime soon. That sounded like a much better idea. Lifebeat was now on my best pony list. Well, zebra, but still on the list. Candy Pop, on the other hand, giving me a look. Nothing bad, but it did make me a bit worried. She went on my possibly dangerous to my health list. On her way, I had to quickly use the toilet. I tried to be polite about it, but Candy Pop just told me to go take a piss.
You don't have to be so loud about it,
she said, giving me a smile. This made me feel uncomfortable.
Who do you think cleans up after you when you were out? Not the robots, I can tell you that.
I did not like where this was going.
Lifebeat was too important for the small stuff, so I, his assistant, had to clean the beds every time you made a mess.
Oh, goddesses, she is talking about this. Okay, fine, please stop. I'll buy you a drink if I had a bit to my name right now.
Fine, I'll talk about something else. That topic was a bit shitty.
I didn't know what smelled worse, the pun or the toilet.
So, you want to know how you compare to some of the other stallions here?
Now I was lost again, feeling like I felt I was going to have to get used to here. Compare, like, in how? Because I know all of you are going to be a lot smarter than me.
Obviously, I'm talking about in the bone.
What?
The red rocket, the mighty horn, your little you.
What?
Your dick! I'm talking about your dick!
This mare was too much. I was too hungry to run from her.
I got that red rocket.
And why would I want to know? And why do you know or want to talk about such things? Candy Pop had to be just pushing my buttons. This was too much to be real. She rolled her eyes.
You're going to be as boring as the rest of the stallions here. This blows.
She then giggled to herself. How did you even get a job here? I felt that was a valid question. This mare was like hot pink in a funeral. Which, now that I think about it, would not be that out of place. A lot of ponies did have pink coats, but that was besides the point.
I think I broke my professor's nose.
Candy Pop scrunched up her face, no longer having that coy look at it.
That's what Miss Healing Herbs told me, and I don't. Oh look, we're here.
I did not expect that kind of response. Before I could ask what she meant, my stomach announced its anticipation for food, pushing any questions from my mind. Oh, sweet Celestia, I could smell food. When the door opened, I almost jumped in. My low energy was the only thing keeping me calm. The cafeteria itself looked like a classic diner, not as nice as Sleepy Who's, but its black and white checkered patterned floors and red seats gave the place a more life than the rest of the gray-on-gray rooms. There were a few ponies here, not enough to be crowded, but more in one place than I'd seen in this place before. But with my stomach leading the way, I only concerned myself with the pony that had on a big, white chef's hat, standing behind the counter. The chef was a earth pony stallion. His pale green coat was stained different colors where his apron did not cover him, and his red tail was bundled up into a fishnet hood, like that I'd seen most cooks use. I need food. Doctor's orders. I give the chef a smile. Please? Ah, good. The newcomer has manners, and I have exactly what you need. The pony gave me a smile as he grabbed a green patty and put it on the grill. The smell that met my nose filled me with joy. This shouldn't take long. Name's Pear Tart, and it's good to see a new face. Thanks. The name's Slow Trot. So what are you making? Just a burger. It's made of stuff the organic matter recycling units put out. So far, I call it a success. He pulled out 2 green buns, placed the patty on it, what looked like fresh green hay, and some white sauce between them. Placing it on a plate before sliding it to me, it all looked very green, though the bits of brown were where it was cooked, and the white sauce did have some color to the thing. Try it. It's good. I quickly looked around me, counting Candy Pop and Pear Tart. There were 8 ponies in here, including myself. I could tell that they were all watching me, though none of them were looking directly at me, but I could still catch them glances. Some of them had food as well, apples mainly, but none of them had the same green stuff that was placed before me. Feeling that my stomach could not wait any longer, I decided to eat this mess of green they call a burger. Bottoms up. The burger was surprisingly soft when I bit into it, and seemed to turn into mush as I chewed. The flavor itself was mostly all the same. Not bad, but was nothing like the hay burgers I enjoyed. Before I knew it, I was eating the last bite, my stomach finally giving me some peace. The last pieces of the green burger had trouble going down, and before I could wave for some water, Pear Tart handed me a glass. Waves of relief passed over me as I chugged the drink water down. So how was it? Pear Tart pulled out a plate from me, placing it on top of a few other dirty plates nearby. It was okay. It just all tasted the same, and turned into mush. It could also use some salt. But other than that, I could have some more. I'm really hungry. The chef chuckled to himself before preparing another one for me, and this time adding salt. I sipped on the drink he gave me earlier. It tasted like water with light apple flavoring to it. Noting, I would say, was a great, but right now it hit the spot. As I waited for the next burger, a mare sat next to me. She was brown-coated earth pony with a orange mane and tail.
Out of all the newcomers here, you're the first to come in on a stretcher.
She gave me a friendly smile.
I'm Prancer Dancer, the counselor here in the stable. It's my job to help everyone be happy.
She held out a hoof for me to shake, but when I did, she pulled me in and gave me a hug.
Now that you're all healthy, let's get your party started.
I was left a little confused as she let go of me. Some of the other ponies behind me yelled cheers as Prancer Dancer hopped out of her seat.
I'll go get your gifts.
Another plate of green burger was placed in front of me. Don't mind her. She's former MOM. Pear-Tart poured some more apple water and started cooking another burger as he talked. Prancer was one of Pinky's early agents, back when the MOM was about keeping the morale up for every pony. Truthfully, there are a lot of early ministry ponies here, even her acting overmare is former MOP. Not that she'd talk about it. I licked my lips as I finished the burger. The salt did help the flavor a bit, but it still just didn't feel quite right. So why would the ministries let that happen? Aren't they super... My seat spun around, putting me face to face with a box with a ribbon on it.
Now, less gossiping and more opening the presents.
I lowered the box to see Prancer Dancer holding it with her 2 forehooves.
I talked with June after you first got up, and she told me that you'll be working with us. I just knew I had to get you this.
After swallowing a bit of the green burger I was eating, I gave her a small smile. Pulling on the ribbon, the box opened the rest of the way on its own, confetti popping out as it did. I was a little surprised by it all, but my current state of binge eating, lest be a little dull to react. Looking inside, I could see stable barding and a pair of thin saddlebags. And after lifting them out, I saw they had R&D printed on them, where normally a stable number would go. You got them from me?
Of course we got them for you. Can't have you work for the R&D and not have R&D barding, with the stable bags as an extra bonus.
Looking closer at the barding, it only had one sleeve for my right leg. The other side made a zipper together.
It's our newest model for stable barding. As it turns out, whoever made the old stable barding didn't think about getting it on and off with your pip buck on your hoof. Now, try it on.
The barding slid on easily enough, with the tabs long enough for me to grab them with my mouth and pull. The zipper around my left shoulder was about the same, if a little harder to pull. The thin saddlebags were more like hard cases, similar to the MOP box, and when I pressed my hoof inside the saddlebags, it expanded outwards.
That I saw lying around and picking up dust in manufacturing. And if you're going to be a courier, you're going to need cool saddlebags to hold stuff in.
Putting it over my back and securing it around my belly, I started to feel at least a little less out of place. Prancer gave me a smile and nod before walking to the other tables.
Well, now that you look official, why don't you say hi to the others here?
I chose to quickly gulp down more of the apple water before getting out of my seat. I also took another big bite of the green burger. It may be mushy and odd, but damn it if I was not still hungry. At the first table sat Candy Pop, a unicorn mare, and a zebra stallion.
This is Underbush. This is her husband Jan. They're in charge of Lavsby,
Candy Pop explained. Both of them had stable barding that had extra padding over it, giving them a far more armored look.
They all say security.
But the most we ever do is escort eggheads back to their families when they forget they have lives outside work. Underbrush had an upbeat raps to her voice that seemed to match her powdered blue coat and black mane combination. She also sported a scar under her left eye that extended to the left side of her head. We got a few funny stories about that. Maybe we can tell you them later. Zan spoke with no accent, but other than that, he was, well, a zebra, a coat of white and black stripes that extended to his mane from his tail, though his mane seemed to reversed the black-white between the left and right side. Prancer Dancer got my attention with her vigorous waving at the next table. This one also had 3 ponies at it. All 3 of them had some kind of grime on them, and all of them were earth ponies.
This is Musketball. The old Coggers is the head, and currently the only pony in the Arms Development Lab. Then we have Easy Fix and Stress Tests. There are maintenance engineers here in Lab B.
Musketball simply grunted. He had a white mane, gray coat, and a beard that was at least 12 inches long. Overall, a grumpy old pony. Easy Fix spoke up. Don't mind him. He's just not good with meeting new ponies. If you visit him at his shooting range, I bet he'll talk your ear off if you shoot guns, or drink whiskey all day. I don't know much about shooting guns, but talking over some whiskey sounded like a good way to pass the time. Easy Fix had a black coat and a blonde mane, making the stains on his barding the only clear sign that he needed a shower. It's one of the easier things about being in Labs B. As long as we get to keep things running, the Overmare lets us get drunk. Easy Fix sounded more like easy living. Stress Test was much bigger than everyone else, with a violet coat and a rust-red mane. He gave off a feeling of pride as Easy Fix had spoken. This job's the best, because Stable-Tec does not cut corners. So all we have to do is double-check all its weak points. And if they're still going strong, our job is done for the day. Stress Test let out a burp. But don't get us wrong, it still keeps us busy. And Labs C and D call us down whenever they fuck up. I guess he didn't want me to think he was lazy. Not that I would say it. But the job sounded like a fun, easy gig. Well, for a maintenance engineer, of which I was not.
And that's everyone that's free right now.
Prancer shrugged.
We are busy ponies. Just yesterday I had to plan it for a birthday party. And it turns out it was her twins. Had to redo everything an hour before they arrived. And it was a success in the end.
The cake burst into flames,
Miss Prancer Dancer.
A stuffy unicorn mare trotted through the door. She had normal stable barding over her white coat. Her silver mane was in a braid, and she had thin framed glasses that sat on the top of her nose.
I don't call Flaming Cake a success. The 2 colts thought it was awesome. They told me so. So I call that a success, Miss Dots and Cross.
Prancer stuck out her tongue.
Never mind to you. I'm here for Mr. Slowtrot.
She looked at me and used her magic to place a piece of parchment on the table next to me. A quill floated over to me to take in my mouth.
I need you to sign this here. It's a release form. With it, Stable-Tec will not be held liable for any injuries occurring when involved in Stable-Tec business.
Among things I strongly disliked, one was writing with my mouth. I did my best, but my signature barely looked like my name.
Good. With this, I advise you to return to the Pip-Buck Lab, and I should remind you that this does not make you an employee of Stable-Tec.
Dots and Crosses grabbed the parchment and her magic, trotting out with the same scenes of urgency as she came in with. I could see that her cutie mark was an I and a T. Prancer gave me a little nudge.
How's our local bureaucrat? It's her job to handle payroll and all the other non-fun stuff. Oh, and before I forget.
Prancer hoofed a few things into my saddlebags before I could see what they were.
Something for the road, if you get hungry or thirsty.
In the upper left corner of my vision, text appeared, stating I now had 2 Stable-Tec MREs and 2 B-Lab Sparkle Cola in my saddlebags. The text vanished after I read it.
You know which way to the lab, right?
Candy Pop trotted over to the door.
I'll take him to the lab.
Oh no. I knew what she wanted to do.
Come on. I heard they got some fun stuff to do with that Pip-Buck.
Okay. I just needed to mentally prepare myself. Can't be much worse than what some of the mares I knew would talk about. I trotted after her, preparing for the worst she could throw at me. I was not prepared. I thought she was going to talk about stallions and private stuff about them. But no, she went on about the diseases she had to study in college. I didn't know that there was a trick that can give you a virus that makes your skin fall off. Now I do. along with its horrible symptoms that come after your skin falls off.
What actually kills the pony is dehydration. With so many fluids coming out of every orifice, it's extremely hard to keep the patient hydrated, as well as not contract the plague yourself.
The door to the Pip-Buck Tech Lab was right in front of me. Candy Pop was still talking. I didn't want to be rude, but I also didn't want to hear about any more ways to die from horrible diseases.
Ahem, Candy Pop? Are we here already? And here I was just getting to the good stuff.
You scare me, you know that, right?
Oh, don't make me blush. But if you ever want to talk more, you know where to find me.
Candy Pop waved and trotted off, probably back to medical, leaving me with a piece of silence. So I stood around for another minute, absorbing the quiet stillness. The Pip-Buck lab looked the same as it did before. I passed out. Not that I remember any real details, but I did take note that the robot was gone. June was still at the large computer with a few more Pip-Bucks plugged into it. An ashtray sat next to her filled with cigarette butts and ash. Cloudbank was at a desk, tapping away at another, not as big computer. Emerald Fields was among a bunch of disassembled Pip-Bucks, and from what I could guess, she had them all connected together. Though what for, I didn't know. I'm no Pip-Buck technician. Hello, I'm back. Good. We have some work to finish up first. Go take a seat in the meantime. Don't touch anything maniacal, June said. Didn't even stop working as she spoke to me. Nor did the others, which to me meant I should just do as they say. Looking around the lab, it all just seemed to blur together to me. All I could understand was that everything here was to deal with Pip-Bucks, and because I knew nothing about Pip-Bucks, I just felt that I did not belong here. The cafeteria was inviting, calling to me to eat, drink, and talk to others. But now that I could actually take my time in the Pip-Buck lab, it was sterile and cold. I sat at the desk that was a bit further away from the others, as I didn't want to distract them any further than I might have. The desk itself had some paperwork on it, something that should be safe for me to at least look at. One piece of paper was covered in notes. It had another paper attached to it. No more Ministry Pip-Bucks. That was what the attachment had written on it. The document itself was a wall of text that I had no real interest in reading, but it also had a lot of pink notes scribbled all over that caught my curiosity. The top stated that the document was about an MOM Pip-Buck. Most of the pink notes were too much of a scribble for me, but there were a few notes that were a bit bigger and more clear. Durable internal hardware, detachable/reachable components, softer casing, and a bigger memory space. There was another note near the bottom that was in red. Suggest the use of the 2900 over the mass-produced 3000. It's more easily customizable. As I was about to put the document down, I saw that there was one more pink note at the bottom right corner. My eyes could not help but be drawn to it. Prancer Dancer holds such good parties, don't you think? You should go help her out tomorrow, Slow Trot. It'll be fun. I just put the document away, sliding it under another document and put a stapler on top of it. Another batch of documents sat on the left of the desk. This one was about a Pip-Buck attachment prototype, as it stated at the top, and was a wall of text that I had no interest in reading. Each document under the top page seemed to be about different prototypes, some stamped approved, others not. The first one was called a Stealth Buck. It was approved, and had a purple scribbled note at the bottom, of which I could not read, but it was signed MAS. Another document for PRA, or Personal Research Attachment, was approved. It had some scribbling red notes on it, signed by June Longbird. I flipped through the rest. Many of them were covered in red notes that I could not see, most having no stamp on them. Another approved was a broadcaster attachment, though this one seemed to have a lot less text to it. There were at least 3 more I saw that were approved. A disruptor attachment, a wireless connection attachment, and a levitation attachment, all with walls of text attached to it. I simply put them all back where I found them. One other document caught my eye. Pip-Buck 2500, stated in top of the bold. The Pip-Buck I was told that I had won back in the raffle. The document was another wall of text. but attached beneath that was a sketch of the pip-buck. The pip-buck had a far different design than the 2600. They both shared that it covered most of the leg. The lower end was a little different from the normal pip-buck 3000, not as bulky looking, and the upper leg part was less like a extra pip-buck and more of a holder for what looked like a retractable antenna. Under the sketch was the words Search and Rescue Pip-Buck, and the red note next to it stated Further Manufacturing Cancelled. The bottom left of the page was signed JLB. Finished! June shouted. The other two researchers groaned as they continued working. You two are buying the scotch. Feeling that it was now safe to at least try and talk with June, I put the document down and trot over to her. I signed a release form, so that was a thing. Oh, and I got free stuff. Oh, why am I so awkward at times? June just looked at me and rolled her eyes. Well, at least that means that healing herbs might actually get some sleep. Now, let's get that pip-buck hooked up and ready. She pressed a button at the upper part of her pip-buck, opening the panel from before. You know, we were worried that it had actually failed when you passed out. With ease, she picked up a cable with her hoof and attached it to the pip-buck. Lifebeat had a few words to say about dragging one of his patients just around after the recovery. She plugged in the second cable to my pip-buck and returned to her computer. That's the first thing he had me do when I got up. I don't think I've seen a real zebra in years. No, if not a real one, then what have you seen? The normal stuff? Ponies in zebra costumes? The ones with the big red eyes and fangs scaring the fillies and colts? June let out a sigh, tapping away at the computer. It's really gotten bad, hasn't it? I remember when the war started, that such depictions of the zebra could get you in trouble with the law, and now it's just the normal stuff. The tone in her voice was more somber, but her hooves did not stop tapping away. I actually think it's hard to find a classic movie in the theaters anymore, or a new one that's not about the war in some way. There was even a musical about a zebra friend of the ministry's that turned traitor. The MOM shut it down after the first day it was shown. So, how many zebras are here? June stopped tapping and swiveled her seat to look at me. I was actually taken aback by it. And why would you want to know? Just curious. Like I said, I haven't seen a real zebra in years, and today I saw two. So you met Zan as well. She paused, closing her eyes for a few seconds before opening them again. I'll let that be a surprise. She then turned back to her computer. I just scratched my head, accidentally hitting myself with the pip-buck. Done! Another groan came from Cloudbank as Emerald Field levitated her cluster of pip-bucks over to the computer and plugged them in. Looks like you're paying for 3/4 of the scotch, Cloudbank. He tapped away at his computer, harder. I'm afraid to ask, but what is that? I pointed at the cluster of gutted pip-bucks she was plugging into a large computer. A shortcut. She smiled as she levitated another cable to me and plugged it into my pip-buck. That VI we installed turned out to be better than we thought it would. It's actually isolating all the harmful spells, and any ones that could damage the pip-buck systems. So we just have to make a place for the spells to be isolated that is not on the pip-buck, she said with an upbeat tone. So, does that mean you can get this thing safe today? I didn't want to get my hopes up, but I wanted to know. No, not today. Maybe tomorrow. We're trying to trick the spells to jump into another pip-buck. And, like the old saying goes, you can trick all the ponies some of the time, but you can't trick all the ponies all the time. She pressed a few buttons on her Frankenpony creation, and my vision blurred for a second. We should be able to remove the more problematic ones first. The VI won't be able to let the pip-buck fully operate until we get rid of them. Cloudbank walked around me, plugging his pip-buck into the computer. He looked a bit annoyed. The new code is ready. Just start the transfer and the VI should take care of the rest. Right. Just monitor the systems. If you see any hiccups, unplug everything. The sound the computer made suddenly became louder, like someone had turned on a spark engine. The screen on my Pip-Buck lit up. I brought it up closer to take a look at it. I could see the symbol of the MOP filling the screen, under text flashing by, and a bar slowly moved to the left to the right. As I watched, another bar appeared, also moving across the screen. But when I moved my head, it moved with me. This went on for a few minutes. The bars became butterflies and fluttered around the room. I was getting concerned that the Pip-Buck had messed up my brain. Eventually, it all stopped, and my Pip-Buck rebooted again. That was weird. I rubbed my eyes before looking at the others, who were staring at me. What? I saw green butterflies flying everywhere. Is that not normal? Cloudbank and Emerald Field glanced at each other before looking back to me. Cloudbank shook his head before talking. This is why we stopped letting the MAS program our Pip-Bucks. The Pip-Buck turned back on, my vision filled with stuff. I looked at it, but other than a compass, I didn't really know what I was looking at. Emerald Field chuckled a little. Looks like the EFS is working. There should be a tutorial in the system settings. When you have time, you should turn it on. So all this stuff was called an EFS? The compass was easy to understand, though the 3 small blue bars on the compass were odd. Moving my head left and right provided me evidence that the 3 small blue bars were tracking the research team. June had gotten out of her seat and walked to the desk that Cloudbank was working at. The blue bar followed her. She picked up a mug with her hoof and smiled at me. Let's test out the new spell. New spell? Oh, right. I agreed that I would help them with their research, I guess. The other 2 gave a worried look at each other, which then made me worry. Slowtrot, stay still and keep an eye on the mug. She threw it at me with an underhoof throw. It quickly flew at my face. To my credit, I did exactly what June told me to do, more out of surprise than anything. Luckily, Emerald had grabbed the mug in her green magic, saving me from getting hit in the head with it. Turning to thank her, the mug then smacked her in the head and fell to the ground. What? Cloudbank started bellowing in laughter. What just happened? Could you have at least had him pick it up with the levitation spell? Emeraldfield groaned as she rubbed her head. Or at least throw something softer. Then she started to laugh as well, which made me feel that things were okay. June took a long puff of her cigarette as she walked back to us. We put a levitation spell in the Pip-Buck. Nothing strong, but it should help you with getting things in and out of your new saddlebags. Just be careful, the spell uses your eyes to target whatever you pick up, and will move with them, as well as drop when you blink. She returned to her computer and looked back at me. We've got more work to do, Slowtrot. Go find Zan or Underbrush. One of them can take you to residential and show you around. The levitation was a bit much for me to take in. The part about getting shown around sounded like a good idea. Maybe the cafeteria had some more food for me. I was still feeling a bit hungry. An icon appeared in the upper right of my vision, stating map updated before vanishing. Tapping at my Pip-Buck, the option to start a tutorial opened up. I looked at the others and shrugged. I'm going to check the tutorial thing first. I think this thing has a map. The others smiled a little before going back to work, leaving me to learn how to work my oversized Pip-Buck. Footnote. Quest perk. Advanced Pip-Buck modification. The defective 2600 is now working properly, and will not suddenly try to kill Slowtrot when he is using it. He just needs to be careful as to where he plugs it into. Slowtrot can now use levitation through his Pip-Buck on a small object up to a yard away.